So good morning. Wanted to talk to you about sometimes we need to have a point of reference to understand where someone is coming from. And I like to think that a lot of my journey, I've kind of kept it hidden or, private because that's what I tended to do about my spirituality, my faith, my belief system. For the most part, I really kept it to myself. I wasn't going out of my way to announce everything. That's just not what I was about. And before all this, video capabilities, etc., it just wasn't something that I was leading with. But perhaps because of where we are today, maybe understanding where I'm coming from and my story, my testimony might make more sense why I'm doing the things that I'm doing now. Okay, so my story is kind of a tragic story, and it's also it's traumatic. When I was a young child, between the ages of 3 and 5, I was sexually assaulted by my uncle. And it didn't matter what I said to my parents, their disbelief in what I was saying. There were phrases like, "Stop making up lies. Why would you say something about Uncle Jim like that? He would never do that," okay? And the point is, during that time, from age 3 to 5, I felt very abandoned, very betrayed by my own parents, by my own extended family, because the people that I trusted, who were part of my inner circle, were not taking care of me appropriately. Now, how this happened and what happened during this time is that during that period, there was all these different manipulation tactics and, getting my father drunk so that he was passed out, so then I could be taken advantage of in the, late at night or during the middle of the day. It didn't matter. But the point is, there was a procedure that was in place. It was get the adults who were primary responsibility for me out of the way, distracted doing some other task or inebriated, and then that's when the attacks came, okay? Now, I have zero reason to make up this shit, nor does any 3 or 5-year-old who tells you that they're being sexually assaulted. They have no agenda to, enhance their ego or anything like that. So the bottom line is, that one experience was the start of my faith and my belief in the unknown. And for me, what happened was, when I was being sexually assaulted in these series of attacks, I literally saw the light of God come to me. There were angels surrounding me. And I literally had a personal experience with Jesus, with Yeshua. And he told me to be focused on him during the entire time that these attacks were occurring to me. And I did. I focused on him. And all I can tell you is, he held my hand through some of the most difficult situations in my life. And that was as a child. Now, as a child, when you're sexually assaulted and those doors that aren't supposed to be opened until you're an adult, but they're opened as a kid, what happened was I was given certain spiritual gifts. I was given a humongous sense of intuition and intuitiveness and empathy. And some of these skills, again, for someone who's age 3 to 5, it's not something that a 3 or 5-year-old has a lot of words around expressing what's happening to them. It wasn't until years later that I understood what had happened to me as a child, and then what gifts were unlocked as a result for the duration of the horribleness that I had to experience. Now, when you're a child and you start to discover that you have certain gifts that other people don't have, you start to talk to people about it, and when people keep telling you, you're crazy, I don't know what you're talking about, you're making things up, again, I know that I was not making things up. I know that something was unlocked in me, and I was just praying over and over again for the right people to show up who were going to help me on my journey to understand what was going on, okay? So, how this showed up was that, number one, at more like the teenage years, I had another series of tragedy happen to me, okay? And the first one was, I was very good friends with a skateboarder. He was a pro skateboarder, and he was the cousin of one of my friends in Catholic school. And we lived in this very small community. Well, the bottom line is we had woods behind our house with a stream, and we would go there and fish and ride our bikes and, do things like that. And I was also in ballet at Peabody at the time. So, bottom line, this guy, I thought he was my friend, okay? And we did adventure things like riding bikes and skateboards and things like that. So, bottom line, I was really in love with this guy who I met at Peabody, and he was a musician and I was a dancer, and we were only 15 years old, and this is before being tainted by like life's circumstances, okay, like in terms of like being a teenager and dating or whatever. Like I was literally like, I just want to meet somebody and go out and have conversations and talk about God and that sort of thing. So, long story short, the friend who was a skateboarder decided to be in my neighborhood this particular day. And I was a latchkey kid where my mom worked, and I was supposed to take care of my younger brother. And this particular day, I ran into this guy who was my friend, who was a skateboarder. We had already moved from the county to the city, and I hadn't seen this guy in a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow. So I invited him in to have cookies. I'm fixing cookies for my brother and before he does all his homework, etc. And the bottom line is, the guy had an agenda. Now, whether it was a spiritual attack or the guy was purely evil, I don't know. The bottom line is, on that day when I was 15, I was raped in my own home, in my own bedroom, by my best friend. Okay? And it was not a happy event. It was not something that I wanted at all. I said no several times. And the bottom line is, this guy wanted what he wanted, and that was the end of it. It got more complicated because when I found out that I was pregnant, I went and called this guy to let him know, and I was hoping, I don't know, I mean, I was a 15-year-old, what did I know? I was hoping to have some kind of resolution for this guy to take some responsibility, but the bottom line is, he didn't answer the phone, his older brother did, and his older brother then became involved, and then his older brother wanted to marry me. So it was very confusing that the one guy who had sex with me and raped me really did not like me. Later found out this guy was gay and he had his own identity issues, etc. The brother who was older, who was going to take responsibility, who wanted to marry me, he again was still crossing the line, and he had sex with me. And he really messed up my mind about, this was like grueling violence, the first experience, and the second experience was not like that. But still, I was being manipulated. They both were fully aware that I was 15, and my answer to both of them was no. So the bottom line is, those experiences of me saying no and guys violating that definitely shaped my opinion about men in general and about how they really don't give a crap about women, and when they say no, they mean no. So when you understand this context, and then when my parents were involved, how they made a decision for me because I was under 18, and their decision was, you're going to have an abortion. You're not going to bring up this child. And again, that was going against my faith. That was going against what I wanted to do. And irregardless of the fact that I was in a dance school for, going, professional dance school at Baltimore School for the Arts as a dance major, bottom line is that I was forced to make that decision by my parents. And again, it really messed with my faith and what, my idea of who God is and what he was asking me to do, and then how parents are overriding that decision when I'm trying to lean and trust on God and what he's telling me to do. So the point is that in these beginning phases of the challenges that I went through, I most certainly, was relying on Jesus. And isn't that ironic that at this exact moment there's a stump that says Jesus? Anyway, my point is that irregardless of all the things that were happening to me, okay, I'm sitting in the seat having this abortion performed against my will, and the Lord is coming to me and angels are surrounding me, and I am being comforted in that moment, okay? I can't explain in words, because words are so limiting, what that experience was like. But Jesus was there holding my hand, okay? And he kept telling me, you're going to go through a lot of trials in your life, and just keep focusing on me. Now, I went through college, and as someone who believed in traveling in groups, I would always have girlfriends, and we make plans and we would do things together. And in college,